can't be brave if you're not scared. Well, the day is dark, but the night is darker. The honeybee stays in its hive. Well, the whippoorwill will sing tomorrow for those who ever got out alive. Well, the river runs from golden mountains, a redwood sways from side to side. Bluebonnets grow on Texas prairies, on highways traveled for those who got out alive. Abandoned hope, you must be kidding. My coat of steel, which I wear, put this down upon my tombstone. You can't be brave if you're not scared. You can't be brave if you're not scared. Let's not forget vanishing footsteps and all those soldiers who fought side to side. We salute them all in midnight moments, especially those who got out alive. Draws near and the clock is ticking. I hope the answer comes from 9 to 5. I say a prayer to those still listening, and for those who got out alive, especially those who got out alive. Abandon hope, well, you must be kidding. This coat of steel, which I wear, put this down on my rusted tombstone. You can't be brave if you're not scared. Be brave if you're not scared. You can't be brave if you're not scared.
We have a very special guest tonight. You know a lot about him already, but we're going to find out a lot more. And I am very proud to bring to Studio 3300, Mr. Paul Metsa.
Oh, Andy, how are you, brother?
It's martini time, apparently.
Good to see you in our new cups for 2020.
Yes, we are debuting the new Wall of Power TV coffee cups. And for every one of our guests that come on the show in 2020, you'll be given one to use while you're on the set. Isn't that terrific?
Don't say we don't provide.
Yes, that, and then you don't have to wash it out. See, we'll just take it back and we'll wash it out and we'll keep it clean. So speaking of keeping it clean, my gosh, we gotta start talking about you. Who taught you how to play guitar?
A fellow by the name of Larry Emmons at Beddoes Music when I was about in second grade tried to teach me how to play with Nick Maniloff music book, which meant you had to read notes, which I, to this day...
Wasn't your strong point.
Wasn't my strong point, still is not. I can get through a couple of pieces if you put a gun in my head, but about when I was in fifth grade, there was a fellow by the name of Dennis Monroe who went to high school with my sister Kathy. And he was not only a great lead singer in a band called the Small Society, which that year won the WEBC Battle of the Bands at the Duluth Armory, but he was also a phenomenal folk singer. And so he really sat me down and taught me how to play acoustic guitar, both fingerstyle and with a flat pick. All by ear, and
wow.
And not only that, not only just was the guitar tutelage great, but he also turned me on to all of this music, the band, Leonard Cohen, Bob Dylan, Gordon Lightfoot,
a little the great singer-songwriters of the era. Yeah.
So and we used to work out of a book called the New Lost City Ramblers Songbook. The New Lost City Ramblers was three guys from upstate New York who really embraced the 30s and 40s music from Appalachia and beyond.
Sure, okay.
And so they tracked down a lot of these songs and put them on paper, songs like John Hardy and John Henry. And so we worked out of that. I look back, Dennis passed away about 12 or 13 years ago at the age of 57. He was living in Rochester, New York, and had hundreds of students, many of them went on to become professionals. But he was a senior in high school at the time, and he not only taught me how to play and how to play it, but he really introduced me to this whole school of music that I've been involved with now for 50 years.
Now, in that same era, up in the Iron Range, you had some really great bands. I mean, retrospect, and a lot of from those bands came a lot of people who made a name for themselves.
Back then, all the bands that were very popular in Minneapolis, like Joker's Wild and The Litter.
Sure, from our area, from Robbinsdale.
Yeah, and the Del Counts and the rest all played the Armory in Virginia. They'd play Hibbing, Virginia, Grand Rapids. So there was a really healthy rock and roll scene up there.
Wow.
That you could go to as a kid. You could go to the Armory for a quarter, whatever it was.
Sure, great exposure.
So we saw some of this stuff, firsthand right up in front.
Okay, so in your earlier years, who did you get to see, like at the Duluth? Did you get to go to Duluth Arena? Who did you see?
The Duluth Home and Boat Show.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay, yeah.
That was a big deal. When our family, we had 2 boys, 2 girls, my mom and dad. The big thing was going down to Duluth, whether you went to the North Shore Theater for a movie, or to the City of the Lights Parade at Christmas time, or to the Duluth Home and Boat Show, which was a must. I saw 2 great acts there, and I was about 12 years old. One was George Gobel,
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
who was a
Comedian.
Gibson, but a really good Gibson guitar player.
Wow.
He was like the face of Gibson guitars for years.
Huh.
And another guy was a polka accordion player, a great singer named Dick Contino. And Dick looked like Elvis Presley.
Oh my.
Years later, I found out Roy Batan, the professor from Bruce Springsteen's E Street Band, was a huge fan of Dick Contino.
Contino, wow. So did big arena shows come to Duluth? I'm sure that they did. Who did you see in your teens, let's say?
I saw Carlos Montoya. Yeah, I saw the Preservation Hall Jazz Band,
Okay.
which was amazing.
That
And
inspired you?
Yeah, well, it was, what I really loved about it, Andy, was you go, you know, I seen the rock and roll bands, but here was a Dixieland band, right? I'd heard some Dixieland because my mother was a big Al Hirt fan.
Yeah.
And but to see these guys improvising on stage and really getting their groove on and getting our groove on,
Yeah.
it was very exciting. It goes, yeah, okay, you can do things with other musicians. It could be a lot of fun.
And a spirit that can fill a room and
Exactly
affect
right.
the whole room.
Exactly
Yeah,
right.
It's not just what's happening on stage, it's what's happening in the room
Yeah.
amongst all of the audience members.
Now, the one show I should have gone to, but I missed, but Elvis Presley
Oh my.
played the Duluth
Elvis
Arena
came.
in
Oh, my.
1972, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, a few years later, when we got into high school, there was a friend of mine named Harvey Van Horn, who was one of the big first rock and roll promoters in Duluth. He ended up managing me for a couple years in the mid-'80s before he found out I was unmanageable. But we're still very good friends. But he brought to Duluth for the first time Cheech and Chong, Van Halen, and Kiss.
Wow.
I went down, I hitchhiked in the middle of February to see Slade with opening act The Stories.
Just shut up.
Yeah.
Can't even talk to you anymore.
Summer days fade into early twilight, and then, at first slippery leaves become crisp and crumble between honest hands and fingers. Now brown, having given up the green, red, and gold, with a snap of a finger become nothing but forgotten dust, both so and fast and then so old, which the wind accepts for just a moment to behold. Then whatever to be left in this universe, all by now both bought and sold. The ancient age from whence they came welcomes them in silent whispers. Where have you been, my silent leaves? A seed again now welcome home.
This one's called Amy, and it is by Paul Metsa, part of Alphabet Jazz. I was just about to write you a poem that I would read to you, while we sat on your father's broken swing, and when the wind woke and it caused it to sway and swing from side to side. If there were ever sides, as in a perfect world there aren't. Just birds far above us that float and glide in all directions, as there are many ways to go, and trust me, nothing but open sky through windows without curtains. When dusk and dawn, daylight and sundowns become the perfect moment, and most invisible, like out of the closet come all ghosts that need nothing more than someone braver than them to become who they are. In dance and silent poetry. Those songs, those loud guitars, sung in gutters on those nights with 100 stars, and the rest in castles, then in clouds, some still left to play, and when we find them, I will play both mine and those for you.
The cool thing, what I remember about that.
I love Slade.
Yeah.
Wow.
Noddy Holder, right?
Yeah, Noddy
Yeah.
Holder, Jim Lee, yeah. So interestingly enough, though, so you saw a lot of these rock bands, but you were still kind of like the folk singer. You kind of thought
Yeah, that was my
guitar
thing.
and voice and doing a little countrified stuff. I'm thinking Graham Parsons must have been a big influence on you.
Graham was about when I started playing with the the band that morphed into Cats Under the Stars. I met a kid named Tim O'Keefe, first day of senior high in 1973. I'd seen him play at a kegger, and I knew he was a phenomenal harmonica player. We ended up in 7th hour printing class with Mr. Ruthenbeck, and so I asked him to bring his harmonica the next day to school, which he did. I brought my guitar. He turned me on to Sonny Terry and Brownie McGee, which became our template.
Oh, wow.
Who was like my first big acoustic blues guitar hero.
Yeah.
And
great sound.
Yeah, great sound. And he had a great line. He goes, my guitar is my weapon against the world.
Hey,
Yeah.
all right.
So we started playing that, and then he turned me on to Little Walter, and eventually Charlie Parker, Muddy Waters, Howlin' Wolf. So then he and I started playing together as the Bernie Scribble New Freedom Jug Band. And
Who was Bernie Scribble?
that was my nom de plume when I wrote in high school for the high school newspaper.
Bernie Scribble, okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, time for him to make a comeback. So anyway, we started to play. He played harmonica and some banjo and mandolin, and I was playing banjo and auto harp and 6 to 12 string guitar and dulcimer. So we started playing. We bumped into two guys.
You're a multi-instrumentalist, you have just revealed.
I used
as well.
to be. I used to be. And I can play, if I've had a couple of cocktails at a party, I will play piano, but I wouldn't recommend.
Anyone listening to it.
Right. Yeah. But I have.
But you would do it privately.
Yeah. So, but I have composed several tunes on the piano. I'm good enough to do that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, hey.
So then.
That's worked for a lot of guys. That
So getting back to Graham Parsons. So
Yeah.
the four of us, we went from the Bernie Scribble New Freedom Jug Band to Hot Walleye, which was our take on Hot Tuna, of course. And then so we were playing together, and we met a guy in junior college named Gary Brecky, who was way into the Flying Burrito Brothers. So he turned us on to Graham Parsons and Asleep at the Wheel.
Oh, yeah.
And, back then we were navigating these, it was Ry Cooder, David Bromberg, Taj Mahal, Bonnie Raitt. All those guys that I just mentioned and gals, they got into playing blues and roots music via playing with Skip James, playing with Mississippi John Hurt, playing with John Lee Hooker. We got into all those guys, Hooker and Muddy and Wolf, through Bromberg, John Hammond, Taj Mahal, Ry Cooder, and the rest, Bonnie Raitt.
Right.
So anyway, so that band, we had Hot Walleye for a while. Now we had a big gig. It was August 17th, 1975. And I had clipped this title of an article out of Crawdaddy magazine called Cats Under the Stars, which was written by Robert Hunter, the lyricist for the Grateful Dead.
Sure.
But it had nothing to do with the Grateful Dead.
Okay.
But I thought, what a beautiful name for a band. So I carried it around in my wallet for about a year and a half. And then when we had this big gig, kind of our coming out party, I've got the poster. It was Cats Under the Stars, and we still play together. 40. We're going to be celebrating our 45th year in 2020.
A little reggae song here that Jack and I wrote 35, almost 40 years ago. Back when we were young, marijuana smoking musicians. Now we're old marijuana smoking musicians. And if we can remember the words, we're doing really well. Let's hear once again Cats Under the Stars. Timmy O'Keefe on the drums, harp, Jack Pasternak on the guitar.
Paul Metsa, guitar, vocals, songwriting, production, lights, choreography.
Booking agent, Brody,
Costuming.
sound guy, PR man. Little girl, they stay away. Red belly snake, needle moss in the hay. And she tossed her body dress away. Jumping rope, blindly rowboat. Antelope, don't rock the boat. Jumping rope, laggy rowboat. Antelope, don't rock the
Welcome everybody, I'm Paul Metsa, and we are on site today. We can't tell you where, it's highly secretive, and we shouldn't be here. Shooting a video for my song Slow Justice. So a couple weeks ago I recorded it with Brian Bart at Logic Recording, and I had Donnie Lamarca on keys, Jimmy Anton on bass, Timmy O'Keefe on congas and harmonica, Brian Feardinger on percussion, and I invited my old friend Wayne McFarland to sing. So it's coming out next week on Rock the Cos Records, and it's going to be 11 songs, 4 bonus tracks, and hopefully this video will be out. Not all poor men are honest, not all rich men are thieves, but the rich man owns the orchard, you know, the poor man rakes the leaves. And as the world goes around, all I want to ask is, if the rich man owns the land, why must the poor man pay the taxes? Why does justice go so slow? Slow justice slowly goes. Poor means stop, only rich means go. Slow justice slowly goes. They say a woman's work is never done. Do you wonder why? They could make half as much for double time on the by and by. Well, I ain't no country doctor, ain't no country doctor's kid, but I can tell you that my mother never lived in hands rid. Why does justice go so slow? Slow justice slowly goes. Little girl means stop, little boy means go. Slow justice slowly goes. They kill a black minister in Memphis town. Black prince at Audubon Hall. They used different guns in Cape Town, but the same bullet shot them all.
South Africa was a ghetto, now it blazed like broken glass. One world with different colors, you know there ain't no second class.
Why does justice go so slow? Slow justice slowly goes. Any color means stop, only white means go. Slow justice slowly goes. The people's house in D.C. is wetter than before. There's a bunker in the basement and gold locks on the door. The ghosts of slaves are marching, bleeding red and white and blue, from the streets of Minneapolis to Pennsylvania Avenue. Why does justice go so slow? Slow justice slowly goes. Poor means stop and rich means go. Slow justice slowly goes. Why does justice go so slow? Slow justice slowly goes. Little girl means stop, little boy means go. Slow justice slowly goes. Why does justice go so slow? Slow justice slowly goes. Any color means stop, only white means go. Slow justice slowly goes. Slowly goes. Slowly goes.
A long time ago, Paul Metsa and myself, I was in New York with a band called Ipso Facto, and I had the pleasure of hearing his bands, Cats Under the Stars, and Jeff Cerniak, Paul Metsa, and all these, and like, those are the guys, that was the music. But he wrote a song, I guess in 1984, a song called Slow Justice. So I recorded the song in New York, got the rhythm track all done, and I called Paul. Paul, will you send me the lyrics to Justice, Slow Justice? Paul says, no, it's going on my next record. I said, I know. But so here we are, and it's back on. It's just the way we want it to be.
Wayne wanted me to email him. I said, Wayne, email hasn't been invented.
Yeah.
Your grandfather owned a bar, and wasn't that where you first got your first job? Weren't you sweeping the floor at 7 or something?
Younger than that.
Younger
than that, Sunday afternoons. Well, go back a little bit. My great-grandfather, John Metsa, came from Ilatornio, Finland, which is north of Helsinki.
You are a proud Finn.
Oh,
we know this.
Absolutely. And started working in the underground mines.
Okay.
In Tower.
Wow.
And then started the Metsa family in Angora, Minnesota, and raised several children, including my grandfather, Emil, who was my father's elder's dad. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, Emil, my grandpa, really kind of raised me because my dad was so busy. You know, my dad sold insurance. He taught for a while, sold real estate, was on the school board, city council.
He was a scrapper.
Yeah, scrapper.
Yeah, he kept it going.
But so my grandfather had this bar called the Roosevelt, named after
FDR.
FDR.
I'm guessing.
And got it, I think, about the mid-1940s. It was so busy on Saturday morning. Now, back then, Virginia was maybe 6,000 people.
Yeah.
He had 5 bartenders working on Saturday morning. But he had a great jukebox.
Yeah.
So I was born in 55.
Uh-huh.
So on Sundays, we'd go and help Grandpa clean the bar. So he had all that classic, Ernest Tubb and Johnny Cash and
sure,
and
country and western.
Oh yeah, country and western. Kitty Wells.
Sure.
And so we cleaned the bar and he'd play that stuff. And so that really, plus it was magic. You had to just kind of that smell of cleaning out a bar, which was its own kind of
therapy.
Yeah, it was its own kind of therapy.
Aromatherapy.
But it was time for Grandpa and I to spend alone.
Yeah.
And to hear this music waft through the bar. Yeah. And then, it's funny because I'd find, Grandpa would go, check it on that table, Paul. And I go, Grandpa, somebody left a bunch of change under here.
You found out later.
Try that one. Grandpa, somebody left a $5 bill here. But it was really magical times. My grandfather was also a musician.
Wow.
He played an accordion, and back, he was born in 1899, but back when he was coming of age as a early 30s, when he still lived at the farm, he would literally grab his accordion and walk 2 to 3 miles through the snow to play dances and weddings.
Sure, because he was the guy. He was the only one who could do it.
And then when he was 1928, he married my grandmother, Elna, and they got, as a wedding present, an old Victrola wind-up phonograph. So I still have all my grandpa's old 78s.
Oh, my.
Most of them are all Finnish waltzes. And so back above the bar, when we'd go and hang out, Grandpa would play these records and sing along. And it's where these were all really kind of dark, mysterious, sometimes sad melodies. But it made me fall in love with minor keys.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah.
So my grandpa had a huge influence on my musical upbringing. My mother loved music. My mother's a great singer, really good piano player. Mm-hmm. So I got a lot from them.